Good morning, everybody. This is Lorraine.
And Jennifer,
Jennifer, have you got questions?
I have lots of questions. I probably have more questions than answers. I don't know.
Well, but you can always go to the internet when you have questions.
Absolutely. And that's what people do is they go to the internet and they want to ask this question or that question.
And, that's the thing I think that a lot of business owners forget when they start writing their web copy or working on social media is that the reason people come to the internet, not social media, there are all sorts of other reasons for that. But the reason
Yeah.
they go to Google and they type in not the name of a company or a particular service is because they have questions.
Or if they do type in the name of a company or particular service, it's not as often. It's more of they're trying to learn about something, they're in the research phase. Google has all of this information and from people, if you do it right, are writing about it and are able to answer that question.
And so the trick, and I know there's a lot more to SEO than this. I totally get
Yeah.
it. But at its core, if you want search engines to pay attention to you and to your website, you got to answer the questions that people have.
I will point blank tell you that content comes first. Answering people's questions come first. And then if you do the technical, it will boost the content. But if you do not have the content, it will not matter. It used to, maybe
Mhm.
like a decade ago, but no more.
Well, you know what? People have choices, and they can decide that this website does or doesn't, and then they can head out to the next website. And truthfully, there are millions of websites, and all you have to do is go to Google and type in anything, any term, any question, and look at the fact that 6, 7, 10 million results come up in less than a second.
Yeah. And Google needs to determine for these questions that people are putting in, who is best qualified to answer this person's question. And this even comes down to the plumbers in Indianapolis. It seems like, a simple, who's available, but Google is looking to see who has provided the most information, who can be the most helpful, and you are the most helpful because you have provided content on your website and answers the questions, comments, concerns that people have about your product or industry.
And I often, as I talk to business owners about this, figuring out what questions you need to answer and where to find those answers is pretty simple. You answer these questions every single day.
Yep.
People
Yep.
go to the internet to find the answers to the same questions they're asking you when they call up, when they send you an email.
Yep. Yep. That is an excellent place to start. So whether or not you're doing it yourself or you're doing it or having, somebody else do it, your people out in the field or answering the phone in the office, hear questions, write them down. Write them
Mhm.
all down. And that's where you start to begin to answer those. And then the technical part comes to organizing them and kind of pulling them together. So,
The funny thing is that I had someone tell me, "Oh, it takes so long to do that." But once you answer them, it actually saves you time, because I used to get the same question. Why do I need hosting and a domain and, pay, or when you build my website, doesn't that include hosting? And the way that I answered that question one time for a customer made the customer laugh, and I realized it made perfect sense. I explained that your website was like a mobile home, and it was lovely. You could park it anywhere you wanted, but you needed running water and electricity.
mhm.
And that was your hosting. And once I wrote that blog post, I took that information and I wrote that blog post. I could send that in a link every time somebody asked that question.
Yep.
And it saved me a ton of time going through that same explanation over and over and over again.
Think about your salespeople. So if you have a longer sales cycle and you can just be providing content out on social media of, the questions, but also somebody just asked that, that's something for them to follow up with or additional information they can send, that it's helpful in that turn too.
Absolutely. So answering questions are great for search engines, and they're great for just supporting your sales team, or if you are the sales team, making your life easier.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, one of the other things I think that people don't realize, and it goes back to Google, is that Google wants you to answer the questions.
Mhm.
They, I just had a great conversation on More Than a Few Words with a woman by the name of Stormy Knight, and we talked all about this whole process and some of her favorite resources, which turned out to be some of mine. Like, just go to Google, type in the question, and Google will give you a ton of other related questions.
Yep, yep. There's lots of other tools too. I mean, obviously well, not obviously, but I know like SEMrush, a premium type tool,
Mhm,
can give you questions. Um, I mean, we just talked about it, but this new chat GPT, you put
mhm,
it in there and it's going to give you ask it what is the questions that everybody's asking,
mhm.
and it's going to shoot you out those ideas as well. I know you have a couple other ones you like too.
I like Answer the Public and
Yeah.
Answer Soc, and actually the one that I find, I like the best right now, and it's free, is Answer Socrates or Ask Socrates? Answer. It's Answer Socrates. And what it's doing is it's pulling right from the Google algorithm, and it's organizing the data, but it clusters them in groups. So you get 30 questions that start with how can or how to or why should, and they're all related to your primary term.
I like that word cluster. And cluster because clustering your content together on this is the first question they might ask. What's the next question they might ask? Because they asked that question, then what's the next question? And just leading it down with that
Mhm.
internal linking and essentially leading someone down the path of purchase.
Absolutely. And you touched on something. You have all these questions. As a business owner, now that you have your questions, you need to go to your website and find out, do you answer them?
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it, and and it just amazes me some of the really basic questions that I have customers complain about, that they're always being asked. I'm like, well, do you answer it on your website?
Maybe they have. This is where I start to get into that structure thing,
Mhm,
but it's just not organized. People
mhm,
are not going to go through your blog, which is likely where the answers are at. They might be structure pages, but they're not going to go through and try to find that. Search bars and, out of the box, I don't find that they work that well. You really got to have something custom coded,
mm,
and so I really like on blog pages where it's separated by topic.
mhm,
And I really like off the structure page, if there is any content related to that product or service that's on your structure page, all the content that's related to it should be at the bottom or
mhm.
internally linked. And so that's kind of just organizing it all together in the same fashion.
One of the things that you can do with the Divi theme within WordPress is I can do specific topic searches. So, for example, on my, like you said, your structure page, on my web design page, I can have the search bar looking for more information. When you go there, it only pulls up blog posts that are in the web design category, or that are in a, on my personal blog, I can do a search that's just pictures of flowers or just pictures of something else. And you're typing in your general question, but I know if you're on this page, you really only want answers related
Yeah.
to that topic. And so you can narrow the search, even if the person coming to your website hasn't narrowed the search.
And we just spent this entire time talking about written content, but those same questions, video, podcasts, imagery,
Mhm.
like you can duplicate it across many different forms of media in order to answer it in the form that people like to hear it.
Absolutely. And so, if you'd like to hear more content on any of these topics, go to, you can always go back and look at old versions of the Small Biz Chat. Check them out. And you can subscribe on YouTube and you'll never miss another episode.
And you might have missed recently our random strangers to raving fans. And so we are currently, this was one of the topics in there. We are currently putting it together and it will be a course that will come out. This will be a section of it, and you will be able to kind of refine all of this information into better steps. So
Absolutely. So, look for that too. It's coming out soon. Have a great
take
day,
care.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.